So I don't know if anybody saw the little titling, but we do have some, we have a strong topic today that cropped up, and that definitely has always caught my attention, especially from the person running the whole thing. Why don't we just jump right on into it this morning? This is on the Stop Killing Games. The madman himself, Ross Scott of Accursed Farms. Can't tell me that isn't a trustworthy face. He is. I think he has self-described himself as a mad scientist. But anyways, and I hate to take us to Reddit of all places, but they do have the Stop Killing Games on section on Reddit, and they did post this message, which because you'll see they have Stop Killing Games final count of verified signatures of the European Citizens Initiative. So the European Union 1,294,188, and I'll have another post in just a moment detailing more of that. That has like, and I think, although I think it has it here too. It shows, yeah, it shows the whole breakdown. Let's see if there we go. There we go. European Citizens Initiative. Stop destroying games. Stop destroying video games. Verified signatures going from Austria, Belgium, Bulgaria, Croatia. Like I said, I hope I pronounced some of these correctly. Cyprus, Czech Republic, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Ireland, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Luxembourg, Malta, Netherlands, Poland, Portugal, Romania, Slovakia, Slovenia, Spain, and Sweden. So you got the turnouts, Ross. You got your turnouts, buddy. So good to see. And a good morning to you, Captain Keeley. Hope you're doing well. We're already jumping into the topics of Stop Killing Games. Hope you're doing well today. But it says here, zoom in a bit more, saying, hello, another announcement. Things are moving quite fast right now, and we've decided to share the final count with you ahead of schedule. Originally, this wasn't possible due to certain background limitations, and our plan was to wait until shortly before our next meeting with the EU Commission. At that point, we intended to reveal everything through a video alongside a redesigned website and restructured Discord and several other updates that ironically I still can't talk about just yet. We didn't want to present our case unprepared, unintentionally leak information to lobby groups, or worse of all, burn out our team. Most of you already understand this, but it still needs to be said. Please be patient with the team. We do this because we believe in it, and because we believe what we're doing is right. None of us are paid for this. We all have jobs, families, and responsibilities, and for some, the past weeks have been rough. Keep that in mind. You're not talking to some abstract institution like the EU, you're talking to real people. Yes, even mods are real. In fact, you're talking to someone who's about to play, oh no, play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Oh boy. In about 30 minutes just to decompress after a stressful week. Yeesh. Pick a better game, bruh. Anyways, tomorrow we'll also be sharing this information on our newly rebuilt, or in some cases, entirely new media channels. Ross has kindly agreed to lend his voice and face to help with that rollout. The handover is planned for mid to late February. Cheers, Moritz Katzner for Stop Killing Games. So there was this post that I found here, and then also over here from the Games Radar. The reason why I bring this one is we do also get a actual little voice message from our boy Ross. All right. Anyways, we have cleared the requirements. Stop Killing Games. The EU initiative has almost 1.3 million verified signatures. Enhance. Clearing it for the next phase that's expected to take place next month. The signatures can be submitted to the European Commission. And I do remember us on Saturday Night Sith when this was certainly first announced. We tackled the topic, brought it up, and then I know, people have issues, especially because you are involving government bodies and stuff like that. It's always very risky. It's just sometimes, drastic times call for drastic measures. And if you're trying to prevent games from completely going bye-bye, then you do have to unfortunately do some things kind of like this. And it was encouraged, certainly if you are only within the European Union of countries, submit. I would have loved to have added my own signature, but sadly, being in this case, being I'm in here in the United States, so I cannot do any such thing. But anyways, so the final count is in for Stop Killing Games Citizens Initiative, which now confirmed to have an accumulated almost 1.3 million verified signatures before its collection was closed at the end of July 2025. Wow, meaning it can officially move forward to the next stage in the process. And a post on Reddit, Stop Killing Games. Okay, so that's what we already tackled there. According to a breakdown of a number of verified signatures per country, the initiative gained the most support in Germany. So at least they broke. I was going to look at the list again just to see who had the most, who had the large count there. But that at least, hey, Germany's showing support, which had 233,180 supporters. There was also a strong level of support in France, Poland, and Spain, which brought 145,000, 143,000, and 121,000 signatures, respectively. And a separate video announcement below, Stop Killing Games creator Ross Scott, aka Curse Farms on YouTube. Definitely give him a sub. I love his content. I have loved his content for a very long time. Ever since he first did his civil protection videos. I think when I started following him was around episode 2 of civil protection, and that was like a 2-parter, and I think he'd already had him out at the time. And if you are definitely for some kind of unique, bizarre humor, Ross fills that niche very neatly. And also his Freeman's Mind is fantastic and funny, and I love it to death. It's probably like one of those things that will always pop on just to watch in the background. And now I can't think of Gordon Freeman from Half-Life having any other voice other than Ross's. And his Game Dungeons, for which he does video game reviews on, is also amazing and for some of it insightful and interesting. And that was certainly where the early beginnings of his annoyance with companies was more there to stop killing games and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember, I think it was Battleforge from EA and stuff. That was one of the first videos where that started creeping up, and he was telling people to start writing letters to get them out and start, flooding EA's higher staff, especially the sort of people that would be in charge of this sort of stuff. So this has been a long time thing and a long time coming for this just to get bigger, a project for him. And like he even said, I don't even care if I get credit. I don't even care if it's PewDiePie. I just wanted to make sure it's the people stop killing games. And I think even it was the funniest damn thing. PewDiePie even did pick up the at least the signal boosting it more to get that message out there and everything. So that was quite the hilarious part to all that. But absolutely go and check out his content. It's fantastic. But yes, he explains we have cleared the. I'm wondering if that's what this. So this here we'll play this. See the music really quick. All right, just a little update from the madman himself. But otherwise, the initiative, officially called Stop Destroying Video Games by its own description, calls out to require publishers that sell or license video games to consumers in the European Union or related features and assets sold for video games they operate to leave said video games in a functional, playable state. Basically, and I believe I talked about this when I was watching the Xbox Developers Direct, when we started seeing the live service games being advertised and stuff like that, and I started talking about end of life and stuff like that. Then I think that's something that certainly with gamers, it needs to start being brought up more with these live service games, whether it's shitty or not. I think preservation is key, and it sucks that we'd have to kind of go to bat for certain games, but yeah, I do think he has a point. Every game should be preserved in some manner, because you never know, because like it is, anybody could want to dig up any of these old games and want to start playing, and that's certainly been, I've seen some other people on X reposting and getting games out there that otherwise weren't. It's kind of like they're getting ahead of the curve of things of GOG and stuff like that, making games accessible for today with modern systems and stuff like that, because like it is, yeah, everything changes, everything gets a little different, and it just takes that slight system variation to kind of throw a wrench in the whole system. And you can't always play them on either, you know, current Windows 11, Windows 10, whatever it may be. So having an end of life plan just to be able to do that is fantastic, because you aren't always going to get people that are passionate to resurrect these live service games in some capacity. There just happens to be like for today, we're gonna be playing another Star Wars Galaxies server, and I mean, again, that just happened to have a very niche collective fan base that wanted to see the game still live on in some fashion or another, and it's certainly been doing so. And that was also a good part on Evolve. Who would have thought? Sony Online Entertainment gave out, it was like, here, you guys can work on it, you just have to rebuild the source code. So there's that. And then, I mean, there are private servers out there for other games, from World of Warcraft to other games, because certainly also people prefer different variations of the games that they once loved and enjoyed, and developers felt they had to keep going and keep going and keep going and making changes that maybe weren't actually favorable to a portion of the player base. So some people do that. If there's anybody out there still willing, Matrix Online, please, I'd love to see an emulated server of Matrix Online. But otherwise, yeah, it says it doesn't aim to acquire ownership of said video games, associated intellectual rights, or monetization rights, or put any expectations on publishers to provide resources for the said video games once they discontinue it, while leaving it in a reasonable, functional, playable state. But it does hope to prevent the remote disabling of video games by publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without the involvement from the side of the publisher. And you know, this is something that I've railed on about too when it comes to especially online multiplayer games, and this was a definite huge, I'd say, benefit to the PC side of things when you had multiplayers that we had generally, and it was reliant on, yes, on players and stuff like that to set up their own servers, but that's what worked. Players created their own servers and made a play. It's like why you still have something like even the Jedi Academy mod, Movie Battles 2, that still has active servers. And I believe even probably for the base game of Jedi Academy, you still have people playing because they can just fire up their own servers. And that's kind of the thing I wish would make a return, instead of these player lobbies that are cooked into the game itself, where you have to do the whole matchmaking and all that crap. Just give us the ability to create our own servers. And funnily enough, with the original Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, I know that there is a mod or something that people made it that you could create your own servers for that game. Took some finagling, I can imagine, but they made it possible, so you didn't have to deal with matchmaking. You could just go into a server and start playing. And that's the sort of stuff that I think should be taken into account, especially, I mean, nowadays your consoles are other than maybe like the Nintendo Switch or something, but otherwise the consoles are getting so powerful that they're practically PCs anyways. So let's just start bringing more of that functionality to the table. Give us those options to be able to have player created servers. Players manage them. They have their own mods for the servers. Some get really tismy with their rules and stuff like that. Some aren't. You know, sometimes you have to be, yes, a little cautious, but that's just using your own, you know, judgment. And if you think anything's afoot, get the hell out, sort of thing. And certainly if like there's no mods in the server, it was called, you know, it was a free for all. And if there wasn't a mod when there was a dingbat that was hacking the game and stuff like that, causing problems, aimbotting or whatever, and it's like called, all right, well, if there's no mod here, then we'll just leave and, you know, empty the server basically until the one ruining the fun can piss off basically. So, you know, bringing back that, I think, would be great. Having player created servers again would be wonderful. Let's see, but it does hope to prevent the remote disabling of video games by the publishers before providing reasonable means to continue functioning of said video games without involvement from the side of the publisher. And this was even something brought up on, I forgot what it was I was sharing. Oh yeah, I'll bring that. So really quick, even here on X, I had, what was it I shared? Let me bring that up again really quick, because it is the thing. It's like, why are we no longer? So yeah, okay. So yeah, Zach Schutt the CEO of Meta PCs had posted this here. Say average AAA gaming experience, 68 gigabyte install, 4-hour nap, 112 gigabyte update. And there I have run into such case, well, not maybe like 112 gigabyte update, but certainly like get large enough updates that just make you go, why? And I had this, I was like, why I like sticking to old games still, but it was like, still it's also tiresome. And Decrepit here, he did bring up exactly what happened to ready to play games fresh off the disc. And I know there are people out there that don't like physical games, or are finding the problem with physical games because they have just as much of a problem with deteriorating and stuff like that. I get that. I'd say digital also runs a lot of risks as well, just because you never know what can happen when it comes to, you know, your storage devices. They could crash, they could completely get, you know, they're from a surge or something, anything. I mean, like, I've had hard drives that have just suddenly gone out on me. Technology, while fantastic, is not always 100%. And I mean, who knows? What at one point do we actually potentially lose internet service? So while you may have that cloud backup or whatever, what happens when you no longer have internet access to access your backups and stuff like that? That's those sort of things. Like, that's why sometimes, yes, having that physicality of a game or a movie and stuff like that, books, I mean, Jesus Christ, last an age. But and I understand, like, you know, VHS CDs, they'll have their runtime, but through your own, trying to find the right word here for it, but you know, just through your own diligence and being able to maintain and keep things properly contained, can last a long time. I mean, for God's sakes, people still will resell their VHS tapes on like Facebook Marketplace and stuff like that, just to get rid of them. They'll get it, so send them out for free and they still play just fine. So there is something to be said for this, because yes, we do no longer get the games just fully on a game disc or anything like that. It's you just don't have that same ease of being able to pop in any game and fire it up and play. Like, I mean, I still have my Super Nintendo cartridges, my Nintendo 64 cartridges. I still have some Nintendo Entertainment System games. And I mean, just like it is, your PC can crash out on you. Your consoles certainly can same thing. Unless they've been maybe like refurbished, and sometimes a lot of those kinks have been ironed out. Cool. But you still run into just the same issues one way or another. Nothing is really safe. Nothing is a guarantee of keeping, but you know, it's all I guess it is just all a gamble at the end of the day when you get down to it. But that at least is, you do have other places. Let me try and I did find another kind of, I think it's Ross Scott that had posted this as well. It was, I believe, the new CEO of what you calls it, GOG. The new had been talking about game preservation, and I think certain difficulties of doing so. Let me just see if I can find the post again. Oh, okay, here we go. Ross here, it said, SKG never gets a break on the narrative. The new head of GOG is talking about regulation being problematic, saying upkeep it for 10 years, 20 years, because the regulator said so. SKG has never asked for minimum support periods in any capacity. And let's take a look at the article, what was being discussed over here on Eurogamer. What is fair end of life cycle for a game? As Anthem servers are switched off, GOG weighs the complicated riddle of multiplayer game preservation. It's good that the discussion is taking place. Polish digital game shop GOG has built a business out of restoring classic games, those built for a different era of computers and have been rendered no longer playable. It has been finding a way to bring old classics back since it began operating 17 years ago, but in the time things have changed. New games released during that period became modern classics in their own right and found their way onto GOG, and the company's remit slightly widened, and as time marches forward again, a new new challenge in game preservation has emerged: the question of how we save or resurrect fallen multiplayer games. Excuse me, just my coffee there. Just this week, for example, EA switched off servers hosting BioWare's ill-fated multiplayer game Anthem, and without the servers, the game can't be accessed or played. It means that something BioWare spent several years making and something some players spent several years playing has now disappeared, blinked out of existence. Is this the sort of thing GOG might one day be able to restore? Again, Ross kind of covered that. And it comes down to, and I brought it up when I talked about Anthem. It depends on a passionate enough player fan base. You also just happen to get Spite, because Spite can also be quite the motivator just to try and own the chuds. There's a group of weirdos that resurrected Concord of all stupid games. So you can get resurrections of things from all sorts of places. I asked the company's managing director Maciej, I cannot pronounce that, Gobleski, this question in an interview, to which he replied, game preservation is a very complicated riddle. I'll just skim through the top level riddles. There's the IP and ownership riddle, there is technical aspect of it, and there's the third riddle of how to make the resurrection commercially viable, because no one can do it for goodwill, because this is not how salaries are being paid. Listen, like I said too, bring back player servers. When it comes to multiplayer games, bring back player servers. That, I would say, is the best way to preserve this, because I think, you're going to have a single player aspect of the game. Keep that. And then for multiplayer, make it possible for people to create their own servers again. Bring that back. I mean, for God's sakes, they revived the they resurrected and brought back Battlefront 2 from 2005, the original Battlefront 2, brought it back, and then once it was shown that people could start creating their servers again, or just have them there it all was again. You had the player servers, the structure to do so. Have that in place to be able to do that, and leave it up to the player base. Otherwise, just make sure that the original aspect of the game is possible for access in some capacity or another. Hello, good morning, Dan Blackroot. How are you? Saying nothing is safe anymore. You could be minding your own business within the perfect safety of a familiar vent, but people who know better will come along and make those decisions for you. This is true. This is true. I already kind of said at the top of the getting into this topic, it's a dangerous thing, letting other people in charge of certain things. So that ship ain't getting far, and they are leaving out the riddle of steel. But welcome, Dan Blackroot. And hello, the black pill Timon, the meteor advocate himself. Hope you're doing well, whatever time it is for you down there in Bristol. All right, where did I leave off here? Complicated riddle. Resurrection commercially viable because no one can do it for goodwill, because this is not how. Oh yeah, resurrecting and bringing back multiplayer titles is something that's very complex. He added some things that's very difficult, but it's very visibly becoming a matter of discussion among gamers, among regulators, and publishers as well. A large part of the conversation is being driven by the consumer-led movement Stop Killing Games and its European offshoot Stop Destroying Games, which are petitioning governments and game-making companies in hope of establishing regulations to stop live service games like Anthem disappearing. Ubisoft's shutdown of cooperative driving game The Crew was the catalyst for the movement beginning. Like I said, I'd say it goes back to Battleforge for Ross Scott, especially. Like, he's been wanting to do game preservation in some form or another since finding out about that and being unable to play the game due to its live service setup, and it had crashed and it shut down. So there is a broader discussion to be had within the industry of what does an end life cycle look like in games. What is a fair end of life cycle for a game? Should it be buried and killed and no one can access it anymore, and people who spent 5 or 7 years working on it cannot really look at their creation anymore because the service turned off? There is a very interesting and very complicated discussion that Stop Killing Games probably kickstarted out of frustration. Ross Scott made it pretty plain and clear. He just wants to be able to keep playing these games. Like, shut one way or another, just give the option to be able to still play the game. We want to make games live forever. He added, at the same time, we put too many barriers on game creators in what end of life cycle looks like. We might get fewer games. That's fine with me if people take a little more time and care into the game to make it more viable, to make it more worthwhile, something that to actually stick around longer than the life cycle that they do have, because some games have a year life cycle, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5. Usually 5, I think, was kind of the baseline for what Ross Scott had discovered, that like it was like usually 5 years, and the game can either last longer or be shut down. And I think it was the crew that ended up meeting that life cycle. So make the options available. I say bring back player servers, keep that infrastructure in, so if people want to, they can just create their own. I mean, for God's sakes, also there's there's Battlefield 2142 that's still living on thanks to player servers and other mods. Was it for is this another Star Wars mod for Battlefield 2142? First Strike, I think it was called, and they have servers still going. I mean, that's just it. Just make the ability for player servers. If anything, that'll be the start, instead of all these goofy player lobbies and stuff like that. Knock that crap off. That might in turn cause there to be fewer cooler, or it might give them time to actually think and create some games. Jesus Christ. I don't have the perfect answer yet, he said, but it's good that the discussion is taking place, and at least there's that encouragement. I'd say keep pushing for more thought and care into not only just the care into developing a game, but also, yes, the end of life. I brought it up during the Xbox developer event thing last week, when we started seeing those live service games being advertised. It's like, you got to keep that sort of stuff in mind. Hello, good morning, New York, Florida man. Hope you're doing well today. Saying I blame Activision and in-app purchases. By the way, sup all? Yeah, I mean, I would say that's one big aspect of it, but I'd also say, I hate to say it, it's like, even though I've enjoyed a lot of them, MMORPGs was a big start of it. World of Warcraft. I mean, just from people having that $15, and New York Foreman corrected with in-game purchases. I know what you meant though. In-app, in-game, same diff. But I'd say like games like, World of Warcraft and everything really kicked off the idea of live service games and stuff like that, being like, oh, well, if people are willing to pay $15 a month to play this game, well, what else can we start charging them for? And it was, unfortunately, it is games like that kind of was the slippery slope and has kind of led to a lot of these little douchey things within gaming, I would say. And sadly, again, it's the PC side of things that have kind of helped with it, because again, now that's where we're at with just like the digital games. That was very big, spearheaded by Valve with their app Steam. That's what brought about I think again, we brought about this digital side of things. I don't think, maybe I'll give them a benefit of the doubt and say not intentionally, but you kind of can't help but kind of start seeing some coincidences here of the whole aspect too of you will own nothing and be happy. Hello and good morning, Qui-Gon 93. I hope you're doing well today. Saying Star Wars Hunters servers only lasted a year after release, and it's a shame that they shut it down and removed the game from the Switch library. I know I saw the Melees play that, and it didn't look that great, but I mean, yeah, like if anybody was enjoying it, playing it, stuff like that, they should still have the ability to do so. But yeah, some games have a much shorter lifespan. That game, Concord, and others. And then, like I said, it just takes that right fan base to kind of resurrect it, if there is that fan base to do so. Sometimes it can happen. New York Florida man says, look how long it takes GTA to come out with games. I think that's also them. They're struggling just to not get a big blowback shitstorm, is my guess. But also, like it is, they've hired probably their own version of H1Bs and stuff like that. Let's face it, they're not hiring their best, they're not sending the best. It's probably that there's probably a multitude of things that are just going on that keeps pushing, because I heard they've pushed it back yet again, so for GTA 6, and you know what, I could care fucking less. My bad. but I could care less. Dan Blackridge said StarCraft is still going. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. Like, they still have and there's I don't remember the program, but there is like still the way to do peer-to-peer access between computers through your online access, and not just being in the same room to do LAN gameplay and everything like that. There's still the ability to do that. New York Fireman says player retention isn't as strong as it used to be either. And like you said, you brought up apps. That's the big side of things too, is the phone gaming market that has blown up significantly as well, particularly with the certain opposite sex that plays a lot of those mobile shit games. So, and the gotcha games and stuff like that. So it's like, it's that, that instant gratification and stuff like that they get from that sort of stuff. That's why a lot of those have been persistent. Dan Blackridge saying Guild Wars was so much better. That takes me back. Guild Wars was fun. At least that was a free-to-play MMO as well. But they definitely had at least I think a lot of their stuff was at least cosmetic for like in-game purchases and stuff like that you could do. Dan Blacker says WoW sucked and it ruined any chances of a Warcraft 4. That sounds like people talking about Star Wars: The Old Republic and it ruining any chances for a Knights of the Old Republic 3, 4, 5, and 6, because they're like, oh, that's exactly what all the player classes are. Is Knights of the Old Republic 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7. But yeah, probably did. And then Dan Blacker said a proper RTS sequel we never got after 2. Oh, for StarCraft, yeah. So let me see. I think I had. So yeah, this was on X for the Stop It Killing Games official. We already kind of saw this, the Reddit post, and this Moritz Katzner for the European Union stuff, and then just the overall count. Otherwise, that's kind of the whole spiel with Stop Killing Games. I think that's all I had on